Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Those 6 words divided all of human history into Tukamoon and after.
In that instant, the impossible became history. Humanity was no longer bound to one world. For the first time ever, our footprints reached another celestial body, and the universe suddenly felt little smaller.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Armstrong and Aldrin spent 2.5 hours on the surface. They planted an American flag, collected 47 pounds of lunar rock, deployed a laser reflector still used today to measure the exact distance to the moon to within a millimeter, and received a phone call from President Nixon, the most historic long-distance call ever made.
That would be an honor.
Go ahead, Mr. President. This is Houston out.
Hello, Neil and Buzz. I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval Room at the White House. And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made from the White House. I just can't tell you what you have done. And one in our prayers that you will return safely to Earth.
1969, as Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface and spoke words that would echo through history, there was a third member of the Apollo 11 crew who heard those words, not from Earth, not from mission control, but from complete isolation, 60 miles above the moon's surface, orbiting alone in the command module Columbia. Michael Collins was at that moment the most isolated human being in existence, separated from every other person by 250,000 miles, and by the bulk of the moon itself, which blocked all communication with Earth for 48 minutes of every orbit, leaving him in absolute radio silence. For over 50 years, Collins was the forgotten astronaut, the third man who did not walk on the moon, the one whose name most people could not remember. But in the final years before his death in April 2021, Collins gave a series of interviews where he spoke with brutal honesty about what those hours of isolation were really like, what thoughts went through his mind as he orbited alone, and what he had been prepared to do that he never spoke about publicly for half a century. What he finally admitted was not what anyone expected, and it revealed that Apollo 11 was far more precarious, far more psychologically devastating, and far closer to ending in catastrophe 1963 than the trial. He was selected for NASA's third group of astronauts, joining a class that included Buzz Aldrin, the man who would walk on the moon with Neil Armstrong while Collins orbited overhead. Collins's first spaceflight was Gemini 10 in July 1966, where he served as pilot alongside Commander John Young. The mission was successful, achieving rendezvous and docking with 2 separate target vehicles and conducting spacewalks that tested equipment and techniques needed for future Apollo missions. Collins performed a spacewalk to retrieve a scientific experiment from an unmanned Agena target vehicle, demonstrating the kind of precision and skill that would make him invaluable for complex missions requiring delicate maneuvering and docking procedures.
Armstrong's footprints are still on the moon, perfectly preserved. They will outlast everything we ever built, the day the impossible became possible.
Subscribe for daily science history.